we all have dreams, big and small, that create a life in our minds different than our reality. All the while, we watch others seemingly make it happen. I'm Rachel Denson, a farm girl turned mortgage guru, moonlighting as your self-help cheerleader. Together, we'll pull back the curtain with intentional conversations and discover how you get there. Hello, how you get there, listeners. We are in month 6 of 2024. That just doesn't even feel real to me. And I don't know about you, but there have been many things that have already happened this year that I did not have on my bingo card. And the things that were on my bingo card, I sorely underestimated for myself. And I am not even close to where I thought I was going to be on a multitude of things that I wrote out and set out for the year. And you guys know I love putting pen to paper. Obviously, I'm here because I love talking things through, trying to work through what is going on in my head, get it out of my head and make it something more that I can make sense of, that I can articulate and execute. I have been humbled this year by the fact that when you write down a lot, you're not going to know what's going to happen. And your priorities for maybe what you thought would be accomplished in what order, you don't have control over. Newsflash, And so here lately, after I had a turning point from about to be on an absolute breakdown mode of spinning all the plates. It's pretty funny. I'm sitting here in the exact same spot. I'm in my new house, and you can see in the background, I've got some art picked out for those watching on YouTube that is not hung up, and there's less chaos around me, but still, very bare bones. I've got a podcast room in the works. So hopefully, we'll get there one day. But I wanted this week to be about getting a few things that have been rolling around in my head out just for the world to hear, for anybody listening who can get something out of it and take it and benefit them, bend it to what they, what applies to their life. And then also, this is just one of those things that has become very therapeutic for me, because in a busy life, my time to work through some of what I need to work through inevitably doesn't line up with maybe anybody else's time of when they can listen and work through and hear. These episodes, I've come to realize, have really connected me with a lot of people in this audience that want to reach out afterwards and bring up more intentional conversation that can be had, because there are people that know what's going on in my life, and it is easier almost to pick up right after they have heard the whole long spiel. And then me have time to hear from them. Instead of trying to go through the whole thing and also exhausting the narrative with maybe a few different people in our lives. I know I can get in my head about that. And I've talked about this on here about, how much do we talk about the same thing before? My advice to anybody and to myself was maybe you should just go talk to somebody. And for me right now in this season, this is filling that void for me. So I'm here this week to kind of work through. I've made a list of some things I want to cover and walk you through mentally, where I've been and getting where I'm at, and realizing that on paper, there are a few things that are different, but by and large, I'm sitting in the same spot on a lot of things, but mentally, the mindset has been a game changer. And I have realized that although the first 6 months of this year have not included executing certain things I wanted to execute a certain way, it's not included checking off. I've got my 24 for 24 list sitting here. It's not checking off anything practically on that list, but it has been a pivotal mindset shift in my life, and one that I didn't know I needed, and then I really did not expect to see coming. I'm so results driven in so many ways that it is very, and I know I've spoke on this before, it's a very slippery slope for me to slide into that being in an unhealthy spot. And there have been certain facets of my life that I thought I was operating in a healthy spot. And the first 6 months, 5 months of this year have absolutely proven me, I think, wrong on that. Or my gauge for healthy has changed for the better. When I go talk about being results driven, about, and from a professional standpoint of, I have been forced to really take a hard look and accept a few things where my priorities lie in my professional life. And it is all on the micro level of, I want to help who I am helping right at that moment to the best of my ability. And if that leads me to be at a certain point on my company list, on a state list, on whatever, great. But I can truly say I've had like a heart shift there of, I don't have time to track and measure myself against others. I have taken a harsh look at where I'm spending my energy, my mental energy, and my time. And I would much rather, for me, measure what matters in the quality of the time of my day and what I have to prioritize, and what I ultimately know at the baseline is all of these other things that I do. Like, for instance, like, I love making mortgage education videos. I've not had any time to do that. Well, I want to. I think I'll get back to it. But the baseline is, I do that to help people. And if I'm not doing that because I am so busy taking care of real people asking me to help them, and then in the other time clinging to work-life balance, that's okay. And I am throwing away the scorecard, throwing away the list of all these things that I say I should be doing that are important, but right now can't matter. And that leads me into what I've realized too, is when you move in whatever survival mode in your life looks like. And I think that the reality is, I see a lot of people around me that I think are also living in survival mode, feel like they're living in survival mode. I've had to take a harsh look at realizing that, yes, I pride myself on being this multifaceted person that has a lot of passions, desires, and dreams, and that not everything in my life is about two things, one thing. But at the same time, I have to pare down to optimize my survival mode. There are seasons that are long seasons of survival mode for all of us. I think about, like, parents, for instance. I'm not a parent, but I feel like you could be in survival mode for 18 years. And if you're just waiting to get out of survival mode to fix anything, or you think you're going to go from survival mode to optimum performance in every facet of your life, like, that is so unrealistic. And you may be hearing me be like, no, duh, Rachel. And like, I'm the only one out here expecting that kind of bounce back. But, because I think to myself a lot, like, for instance, in this season for me, we have moved to town and we have changed our lake home into an Airbnb. So she's online. Her name's Blue Oasis, and she's on Vrbo and Airbnb. We'll have the link to the lake house in the comments. So you guys can go check it out, book a stay if you want to. But I thought, okay, if I can just get that done, then I'm going to go back to, like, I'm going to work out every morning. I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to, get my days back lined up. I'm going to start scheduling my days better again, all these things. And thankfully, it didn't take me but a long weekend of away to figure out that that's just not realistic. So this Memorial Day weekend, we did nothing other than work on unpacking our house. And this goes to, I guess, another point I wanted to make in this episode of, at the end of the day, there are some core truths that I know you know about yourself, or I hope you know about yourself, and like I know about myself, that you can't compartmentalize and deny. One of those for me has been thinking I can live in external chaos and thinking that I can compartmentalize my desire for organization. You know, I've said many times on here, from Gretchen Rubin, outer order contributes to inner calm. And for me, that is one of my life's truths. And I, for the last 2 months, tried to deny that and say, I can compartmentalize. I don't have time to do this the way I want to do it. And I've got all these other things that need my attention. And so I'm just going to deal with it. And I did. But the second I took 3 days to reset, so I slept in, said no to literally everything, even things I want to do. Like, for instance, Rose asked me to run Saturday morning. I love a Saturday morning run. I love not feeling in a rush to get it done, all the things. She was running like she was doing a run walk, like that's my jam. I had to say no because I knew that totally was going to defeat the purpose of what I told myself I needed, which was rest. And so I said no. I did not go to the farmer's market. I love the farmer's market. You know, I said no to everything. Did not go anywhere to do anything other than work on getting this house unpacked. And when I woke up on Tuesday morning and we had gotten so much unpacked, and I had probably worked like, and I'm talking answer text, talk on the phone, like anything mortgage related, anything client related, anything. I've maybe worked 90 minutes all week, like for the 3 days. And I could cry. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but I did not realize how bad I needed that. And I think we all get into these modes of, even if it's not for you, it's not like your work, but it's like, okay, so now I'm not at work and I've got to do this. And that is also my life, that before you know it, you're like, okay, so really, when is the last time you took a day off? And I'm talking a day off, not on vacation where like, it's not your real life, because that was the difference for me. It's, you know, we had been on vacation recently. So I thought I should feel so rested. Like, I've already gotten a week off and this is going to, you know, that was my break. There is something that hits differently when you're getting time off in your own house, for me. For sure. And it hits differently. It feels different. And, you know, I really got to thinking about it. Like, I had probably worked, and when I say worked, I mean like sit down, crunch numbers, do like, you know, really work, not think about work, not just like even answer a couple text messages, like actually being in the mortgage weeds of helping somebody. I probably had worked, I bet 20 days straight. And like, I choose to do that. And I can say that every single one of those days, I felt glad to do it. You know, there was a Saturday that I worked all day Saturday, and it was refreshing to do it with a renewed mindset, because I had let go of a lot of expectations for myself and realized that I'm in survival mode. And that means I'm forced to evaluate, what does looking at this, or I need to do right now. And right now means I'm going to take care of this. I'm not going to push it off to tomorrow. I'm going to take care of it now. And that's going to give me more inner peace than trying to push something off to do one of these arbitrary tasks that I know eventually will be important, but just make me feel more behind because I've delayed some of the major to-dos. But back to staying true to myself, in the sense that I've got to optimize survival mode. And for me, one of those is continuing to get things around me organized, stay true to making time for that. But then also paring back what I'm tracking and what I'm doing. For instance, I've let go of, I'm not even wearing my Whoop, which was my fitness tracker. Don't have time for that. It was a reminder on my wrist of what I wasn't doing constantly, because it's telling you, how much rest you need. Like you're supposed to be logging what you're eating. Like it's measuring like your exercise. And so I was getting double whammy shame from one, not having any positive things to like log. And then two, I wasn't even logging it. So I was wearing it, reminding myself, not only am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not even using this Whoop because I'm not putting data in it for it to even do anything for me. So you know what I did? I freaking took it off. And it's like life-changing. It's so silly, but it's these shaking off these expectations. And some people probably don't relate to this episode at all, because there are people like Chad, that he has no internal struggle with forced expectations of himself, of externally. I mean, for me, this is a constant narrative for me of fighting this battle of like things I know I ought to be doing that I'm like having to really release myself from the guilt of. Exercising. My friend Ella, she told me it was a couple months ago that last year she just took a break from exercise. And like, I feel that. I love to exercise, and it's not something I ever thought I would say like I need a break from, but it is definitely one of those layers of external shame or internal expectations of shame that I needed to release myself from. And so I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, so if I can't do it right now, I'm letting it go. So if I can't exercise right now, and if I'm not choosing to do it right now, I'm done with it. I'm not worrying about it. I'll get to it if I get to it and another do it right now. But this is what I need right now. And that goes with like, I am trying to wake up early to exercise, and I have my alarm set, and here lately, not been feeling it. And I know that I love it after I wake up and I get there, but I'm letting it go. And I'm not for good, but also not like letting go of the guilt of like, yeah, my alarm went off, and yeah, I'm still sleeping, and it's 6, and it's okay. There's not a scorecard. This all goes into a couple life mottos I've got right now. The first one being, I am trying to pay myself first every single day. So for me, that looks like paying myself with time, because I have realized, especially summer months in real estate are busier. Everybody, more people want to move during the summer. It's easier. School is out. Life change happens. It's pretty. You want to get out and about. It's easier to think about moving, all the things. So naturally, summer is my busy season. And it's funny how a year is just long enough that it seems like every time I roll into a season that is a cycle, I'm like, oh yeah. It takes me about a month, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this happens every year. Like for right now, it's June, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's June. I should be slammed, because that's a blessing, especially considering like this is my busy time of the year. Kind of like how it takes me a little bit of like the pace slowing down when it gets colder to realize like, oh yeah, it's the holidays. Like the last thing people are doing are thinking about buying or dealing with refinancing their loan. Like they're busy in the holiday season. And so I have to remind myself that, especially in this season, paying myself first with time is the only way I'm going to get to the stuff that I know I need to do for me to feel like me and to show up better for the rest of the day and even the next day. And instead of making that on the last thing on my to-do list, because I'm never going to get to those things in the afternoon. Back to the realities of your situation. Accepting the realities that, like, for instance, yesterday, I was planning on recording this podcast yesterday afternoon. Well, after 3:30, I had 3 new calls. And so even I scheduled it, how like I'd planned my whole day around it. And it's like, well, I couldn't plan about calls I didn't know, or else I wouldn't have scheduled it then. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take care of my people. So I'm not going to record a podcast that I love, but is not my do it right now, because if I do it right now, I'm going to be spiraling and panicking about the 3 people that I had wait on me for 30 minutes so I could talk to myself and record it. Like, can't do that, Rach. Not going to put that kind of pressure on myself. And so what I've realized is my morning time is my cherished, coveted time of I'm getting what I need to get to. Personally, I get my personal stuff done first. So like, for instance, this morning, I texted people back that I had personally like waited on for days, like that left on red to like get back to. I checked on my Gmail. I handled like some of my accounting stuff, like not necessarily fun stuff, but it was stuff that I knew I needed to do, that if I got going in my work day, it was never going to happen. And now here I am sitting and recording this podcast, because naturally, like have realized like my mornings are not near as busy as my afternoons always. And so I am done I'm releasing back to release or recommit. I am releasing the idea that I'm going to do anything like this in the afternoon, unless it's with a guest that needs me to be there for them on that time. And then that's easier to say, doing it right now. I've made a commitment to somebody else, and realizing that may make some other parts of my life look different, and it may not work with what other people's need and other people's schedule. And then in those moments, that's okay, because then I'm just not the right fit for them. And goodness, there is freedom in that. It's been so good for me, and to let myself work this way. And then even that goes to like my professional priorities that are my extra stuff. Like, okay, I'm never going to record mortgage videos in the afternoon and get them edited and recorded. So if I want to do anything like that on social media, it's got to be in the morning, because if I get rolling, it's never going to happen. The second big thing that I've been thinking about, which it's a little bit morbid, but it is, I think it's been my way of coping with what has been a hard thing, like externally right now, which is that I just feel like, loss is just all around us. And maybe we just know about it more because there's, social media. So you just see, I think it's kind of the natural cultural thing to do anymore, that you share about loss online. And part of what has made this has been in my brain a lot lately is when I'm doing stuff, or, certain things that are stressing me out, or how the version of myself that I'm being, I think to myself, would this be on my obituary? Or am I acting like the person that I would want them to write about in my obituary? For instance, it's like, even some of the things that matter the most to me, like I am excited when I have a good month of mortgage closings. Like, I love seeing that I've had a good month of helping a lot of families, and like seeing all that work and all that energy come out in a number. Because there are some months that I know I work just as hard, and just for whatever reasons, I don't have as much to show for it. And I think back to me being results driven, that's hard. But, it's still, at the end of the day, it's like, do I want it to say, Rachel Denson, she closed 16 loans in May of 2024? Like, no, that's a huge accomplishment, but it is still not something that I want to be known for at the end of the day. And one of the, like, even to the minute little things of, like, for instance, I had gotten so relaxed and so just, I'm in the moment, enjoying myself. On Sunday, Chad and I were driving around on on the 4-wheeler at my dad's farm, and I was telling him something, and I'd noticed I do this thing, and it's either when I'm like really stressed or really not stressed, that I like start to sing song my words. Like, I'll be like, I don't even, rah, running through the field. Like, I don't, like something like it's stupid. But I thought to myself in that instant, like, this is the carefree person I would want somebody to write about. Like Rachel, she was always willing to be goofy and like she was true to herself and she like honored how she wants to be and how that I can be silly. And your silly may be different than my silly, but it's like that's one of those things that I like do without, I don't know why I do it. I don't think about doing it. It just comes out. But I thought that's something worth doing and worth being that kind of silly version of myself. And if I lose her because I'm so stressed about all the things I have put into my life, is that really a life that I want? And is that really a life that if I can't handle it, I don't need? And I think that's the big thing is I've created for this life for myself that I love, that I'm proud of, that I in I've created to enjoy. And I refuse to keep letting my mind get in the way of that. And these unrealistic expectations and these scorecards on every single thing we do or I do, I'm done with it. And if anything, the first 6 months of 2024 have not been about my 24 for 24 list. If they've been about that, I'm good with that. And I'm happy with that because on that note, which is I'm so excited, and this is like hot off the press, like it's not important news, but it's a perfect story, I think, to wrap up this episode. Is my dear friend Adrienne. She is like my childhood best friend. I think I've mentioned her even by name on here before. I know I've mentioned a few things we've talked about. She's the kind of friend that we have stayed in touch mainly through phone because the last time I think the last time that we spent more than like 2 hours together was probably 2018. Like it has been a hot minute. I don't think we've had any more time together than that. Anyways, she texted me back in, let's see here, on April 22nd. And she threw out the idea, would you want to visit me this summer? Her husband has to go out of town and she and her two girls are going to be by themselves for part of that time that he's out of town. And I texted her back and I said, oh, Adrienne, if it were just want, parentheses, I would be there for sure. I'll need to talk with Chad and see what I can do realistically, but I'm so glad you thought to tell me about it. And in my head, I was in such a bad place that I thought, there is no way that I should be making time to go and do this. I'm so, okay. Anyways, so because I thought we have too much going on, I already have too many trips planned. I've got like one trip planned for the record. I was honestly in the heart of hearts, I was thinking that is July. That is one of the busiest months in mortgage. Like I cannot be going on a trip in the middle of the busiest months. Like can't be doing that. I thought, I just can't. I'm already so stressed. The last thing I need to do is leave because that always makes me more stressed because I just went on vacation and was absolutely crumbling because it was such a hard transition back and it felt like honestly it wasn't even worth it to go. It just felt so chaotic in so many ways. And so I'm so glad that I did not just ex-nay the idea because then today Adrienne texts me and she's like, hey, just checking in, like seeing if you're interested, like throwing it out there. And because of all of this mindset change, especially since April, like all of April and all of May, really taking a harsh look at what matters to me. I can say no. And if I say no and I'm upfront and say no, I can manage I can manage things a lot better, and I can accept that I'm going to lose out on some other stuff if I choose to do other things. And that's okay, because I don't want my life to be centered around being the best. Then I can have a life my best life, the life that I talk about being the best. So anyway, so she texted me this morning, and I'm paying myself first. I'm having my coffee on the couch. I'm going through my email, going through my text, because she had texted me Monday and I still hadn't texted her back, and it's Thursday. I said, I don't have anything going on that weekend. Where would I fly into? And she tells me where. Y'all, the flight is a direct flight. It's $200, and I can go be there in the afternoon on Thursday and be back home by like 2 or probably after a drive from Nashville, like 4 on Sunday. So I'm taking half the day Thursday, all day Friday, and then I'm having a weekend like a normal person, and for $200 to see my very best friend that I've not spent more than 2 hours with in 7 years. Like, why in the world are we wired to think that we shouldn't try to figure that stuff out, or that can I say we, because I know it's not just me, that we think, oh, I can't swing that. I can't figure it out. I shouldn't take that time. I shouldn't. So it's going to cost me a dog sitter, direct flight. I'm parking somewhere at a friend's house in Nashville that's free, and I get to spend 3 days with somebody that I care for deeply, that I almost passed up because I just wanted to write it off before I even looked into it, because that's my busy time of the year. And I know that I'm sitting here today and I'm like thinking, that's the person. I'm being the person that I want to write about. I'm being the person that I want to show up here and be happy to make this episode, instead of the person that sat here ashamed and embarrassed and crumbling because she wasn't living up to these own expectations of measurement that really did not matter to anybody but her. So that's my 6 month. Here is my, I guess, full 5 months going into month 6 recap of 2024 mindset, realizations, plan moving forward. I'm excited for how you get there, to see what happens in the second half of this year. It's crazy that I've had this show for half of a year already. It felt like such a long time coming. It's been such a labor of love, but I know that it's doing what it's meant to do right now, and I'm good with that. So have a great rest of your week. I'll catch you in 2 weeks, and can't wait for you to hear what I've got in the works for the second part of 2024. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope this episode met you where you were at, and it's given you your own clarity on steps forward for how you get there. Wherever and whatever that is, it is important, and your dreams matter. I would love to hear what you think of this episode and how you get there. You can connect with me personally via email at howyougеттhere@gmail.com, or you can find me at Rach Ross Denson on Instagram, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you love How You Get There, I have a favor to ask. Will you share this episode with a friend and take a few seconds to follow, rate, and review How You Get There wherever you listen to your podcast? Please know you are playing a part in making my dream come to life, and for that, I am so grateful. Don't forget, if where you want to go in the future involves a home loan, I would love to help you. Find me on Instagram at @RachelDenson_MLO to learn all about mortgages from my videos, or use the link in the bio to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I hope to see you back here next week, where we'll keep talking all about how you get there.